Okay, students, so this is course BCHM231 and this is lecture 4 and the topic is hormonal chemistry of adrenal glands, and I am Dr. Musaddiq Ibrahim, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Cohort University of Science and Technology, and this is the link for browsing the lectures: www.ms.cohort.edu.pk. This is the Cust Media server on which all the lectures are available. So please subscribe to this web link. So the topics to be discussed in this lecture include aldosterone role in diseases, cholesterol, that is how the structure of cholesterol is serving as a precursor molecule for the synthesis of the adrenal gland hormones. Steroids, so different types of steroids hormones are synthesized from the structure of cholesterol, so we will study them. Corticoids, these are another type of adrenal gland hormones which are also synthesized from the cholesterol precursor molecule, and they perform different functions. Sex hormones and their functions, so there are a number of sex hormones which are being synthesized by the adrenal glands, and then they are secreted to perform certain functions. So first of all, the adrenal cortex, and its hormone is aldosterone. So this aldosterone is exclusively synthesized in the zona glomerulosa, and the function of the aldosterone is to promote the sodium retention as well as the potassium elimination which is happening in the kidney. So from that point of view, the retention of sodium is very important for the blood pressure maintenance, and as well as the potassium elimination from the human body is also very important. So these important functions are being performed by the aldosterone hormone, which is secreted by the adrenal cortex of the adrenal gland. So this aldosterone is essential for life. So why it is essential for life? So as we see in the second point, that it promotes the sodium retention. So when the sodium retention is promoted, so it means that the blood pressure of the human body is maintained. But if the sodium retention is not happening, then it means that a lot of sodium is being excreted out through the kidney in the form of urine, and as a result, a low blood pressure will happen to the human body. And as a result of low blood pressure, the death scenario can also happen. So that is why this aldosterone is essential for life. Now, this aldosterone hormone also expands the ECF volume. So the ECF stands for extracellular fluid. So the fluid which is present outside the cell, so that volume is being expanded by aldosterone, which is a very important function for the homeostasis of the human body. So now moving towards the aldosterone role in diseases. So basically there are two diseases or conditions which are happening as a result of the aldosterone secretion. So one is the hyposecretion or less secretion of aldosterone, and the other one is the hypersecretion or oversecretion of aldosterone. So in the first case, a complete failure to secrete aldosterone leads to death. So it means that when there is no aldosterone secretion taking place in the human body, so it can lead to death. And the symptoms are the dehydration, that is loss of water from the human body, and low blood volume, because we know that the aldosterone, it expands the extracellular fluid volume, so that also affects the blood volume. And if the aldosterone secretion is not taking place, so then the low blood volume and the dehydration will lead to ultimate death. And this complete failure of secretion of aldosterone is also referred as the hypoaldosteronism. Now the another condition or disease is hyperaldosteronism, and that leads to the hypertension, that is high blood pressure, along with the increased blood volume. So you can see that in hyperaldosteronism there is a hyper or more secretion of the aldosterone than normal, and as a result the hypertension takes place along with the increase in the blood volume. So it means that the blood pressure of the patient increases, and if not treated, it can also lead to the death. So these are the two conditions or diseases which can happen as a result of undersecretion or oversecretion of the aldosterone hormone. Now moving towards the chemistry of adrenal glands hormones. So the cholesterol molecules are the precursor molecules from which all the adrenal glands hormones are being synthesized. So first of all, the cholesterol molecule is being converted, which means that it is being modified, different types of functional groups are being added or removed from the cholesterol molecule so that the desired hormone structure can be synthesized. Now one of the conversion which is taking place is the cholesterol is converted to pregnenolone, which has 21 carbons. So here a thing to be remembered is that the cholesterol molecule is composed of 27 carbon atoms, and here you can see that after conversion of cholesterol to pregnenolone, it is being converted to 21 carbon atoms. and this pregnenolone synthesis is being regulated by the pituitary hormones. So the regulation means that whenever there is less concentration of pregnenolone, so then the pituitary hormones, it gives signals to the adrenal glands to synthesize more pregnenolone. And in case of oversecretion of pregnenolone, so then the pituitary hormone, it gives a negative feedback to the adrenal gland hormone to stop the synthesis of the pregnenolone. So that is how the synthesis of pregnenolone is being regulated by the pituitary hormones. Now moving towards the prohormones. So what are prohormones? So they can act as a hormone and can also be converted into another hormone with different endocrine properties. So prohormones are the sometimes inactive form of the active hormones, and then they are, after the enzymatic action of specific enzymes, they are converted into another hormone which is the active form of the hormone, and that hormone then performs different types of endocrine functions. So in case of cholesterol, so that can be called as a prohormone because it is the precursor molecule for the synthesis of all endocrine adrenal glands hormones. And then after further modification, there are a number of different types of hormones of the adrenal glands are synthesized which perform different types of functions. Now moving towards the steroid hormones. So this is the structure of cholesterol, which consists of 27 carbon atoms, and there are 3 benzene rings. This is first, this is second, this is third, and then there is a 5-member carbon ring, and then there is a branched chain which is attached, and then there is a hydroxyl group present as a functional group attached to the first benzene ring. So this is the chemical structure of the steroid nucleus, and again you can see that there is a derivation or modified structure of the cholesterol. Now the numbering in case of cholesterol or steroid ring starts from here, which is labeled as carbon number 1, then this is carbon number 2, this is carbon number 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. These are the A and B ring structures of the steroid nucleus. Then after 10 you have C ring, which starts from 11, 12, 13, 14, and then the D ring, which consists of 5 carbons, so 15, 16, and 17. So this is the sequence of carbon numbering in the 4 rings of the steroid nucleus, and this is A ring, this is B ring, this is C ring, this is D ring, and then after 17 carbon you have substituents attached as methyl group at carbon number 18, and a substituent attached as methyl group as carbon number 19, and then at 17 position you have substituents attached as carbon number 20 and carbon number 21. So if you compare and do the numbering of the cholesterol structure, you can see that at this place you have 20 carbons, then you have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 and 27. So the precursor unit is being synthesized from the cholesterol, which is also known as the steroid ring, and the cholesterol structure is uniform, which has 3 6 carbon rings, which I have already explained. So these are the 3 6 carbon rings, and 1 5 carbon rings, which is this one, and these hormones are known as the steroid hormones because they have been a derivative of the steroid nucleus, which is cholesterol. Now moving towards the C21 steroids, which are derived or modified from the cholesterol steroid ring. So here you can see that the cholesterol is being converted into pregnenolone, and then the pregnenolone is being converted into progesterone, and then progesterone is either converted into 17 alpha hydroxy progesterone, or it is converted into 11 deoxy corticosterone, and these all steroids are known as the progestins, and all of these pregnenolone, progesterone, and 17 alpha hydroxyprogesterone and 11 deoxycorticosterone, they are all composed of 21 number of carbon atoms. So you can see that the cholesterol structure, which is composed of 27 number of carbon atoms, it has been modified or derived into the structures of progestins or steroids, which are composed of 21 carbon atoms. So all the progestins are the steroidal hormones which are composed of 21 number of carbon atoms. And another thing which is important is that in all these progestin hormones, the 3 6 membered carbon rings and 1 5 membered carbon ring are always present in their structure. So you can see that in all these hormones, the 3 6 membered carbon ring and 1 5 membered carbon ring are always present, and the only difference which is taking place in these different types of progestin C21 hormones is either at this place. So here you have a functional group at pregnenolone. Now in case of progesterone, you have a double bond oxygen group, and then here in case of 7-alpha hydroxyprogesterone, you have additional hydroxyl group present in comparison to the pregnenolone. And in case of 11-deoxycorticosterone, you have a methanol group present at this position along with the carbonyl carbon. So the C21 steroids, first one is pregnenolone, then the second one is progesterone, and then you have 17-alpha hydroxyprogesterone, and these are all collectively known as progestins. And if you look closely at the structures of these three hormones, you can see that the difference between pregnenolone and the progesterone is that in pregnenolone structure, you have a hydroxyl group present at position number 3, while in case of progesterone, you have a double bonded oxygen present at position number 3, and then you have a double bond at position number 4 and 5, while in case of pregnenolone, you have a double bond at position number 5 and 6. And here the functional group are both the same in case of pregnenolone and progesterone. Now looking at the structure of 17-alpha hydroxyprogesterone is that you don't have any hydroxyl or double bonded oxygen present at carbon number 3, but you have additional hydroxyl group present at the 5-membered carbon ring. Now these are also known as prohormones because these perform their function as well as they are further converted into other structures which are also hormonal structures, and they perform other functions. Now these progestins, they are involved in the pregnancy maintenance, that is avoiding the miscarriage or abortion tendency, and as well as these hormones are involved in the mating behavior of the human body. So sometimes the doctors, they prescribe progestins for the pregnant women who are like habitual of miscarriage or tending to abortion, and in case of prescribing progestins, that tendency is being reduced and the pregnancy is being maintained. Now moving towards the C21 corticoids. So these are the C21 corticoids. One of them is corticosterone, then you have aldosterone, you also have 11-deoxycortisol and cortisol. So these are known as the C21 corticoids. Now if you look that corticosterone is being synthesized of a number of enzymatic reactions from the cholesterol precursor molecule. Similarly, the 11-deoxycortisol is also being synthesized after a number of enzymatic reactions from the precursor molecule of cholesterol. Now here you can see that corticosterone can be converted into aldosterone, while the 11-deoxycortisol is being converted into cortisol. Now looking at the structures of these corticoids, you can see that in case of corticosterone, you have a double bonded oxygen atom at carbon number 3. So same is the case in 11-deoxycortisol, that you have a doubly bonded oxygen atom present at carbon number 3. Then you have a double bond present between carbon number 4 and 5, and same is the case in 11-deoxycortisol, that you have a double bond present between carbon number 4 and 5. Now going up at the carbon number 17 position, here in corticosterone you have a carbonyl carbon and then the ethanolic group. So in case of 11-deoxycortisol at carbon number 17, again you have the carbonyl carbon and the methanolic group. Now the difference between corticosterone and 11-deoxycortisol is that you can see that at carbon number 11 you have a hydroxyl group present, while in case of 11-deoxycortisol at carbon number 11 you don't have any hydroxyl group, as well as at carbon number 17 you have a hydroxyl group present in 11-deoxycortisol, while in case of corticosterone you don't have any hydroxyl group present at carbon number 17. So this is the difference between the corticosterone and the 11-deoxycortisol. Now if we see that when the corticosterone is being converted into aldosterone, so what are the differences which are taking place? So the rest of the structure in case of corticosterone and aldosterone, it remains the same, and the only difference which is taking place is an aldehyde group which is appearing at carbon number 13, while in case of corticosterone at carbon number 13 you have a methyl group, while in case of aldosterone at carbon number 13 you have a aldehyde group, and the rest of the structure is the same. Now moving towards the conversion of 11-deoxycortisol to cortisol. So if you look closely, the rest of the structure is the same, but at carbon number 11 you have a hydroxyl group present, while in case of 11-deoxycortisol you don't have anything at carbon number 11. Now the rest of the structure is the same, so only because of the presence of the hydroxyl group this hormone becomes cortisol, and that's why the 11-deoxycortisol is known as 11-deoxycortisol, because at carbon number 11 there is a deoxy or absence of a hydroxyl group. So now moving towards the C19 steroids, which are also known as androgens. So first of all, the acetate structure is being converted into cholesterol, and then the cholesterol is being converted into pregnenolone. Then the pregnenolone is either converted into progesterone or it is being converted into 17-alpha hydroxypregnenolone. Now the progesterone can either be converted into testosterone acetate or it is being converted into 17-alpha hydroxyprogesterone. So if you count the number at this stage, so these molecules or the steroid hormones, they have 21 carbon atoms at the moment, while here we are saying that the C19 steroid androgens. So these are the pro-hormones like these 17-alpha hydroxypregnenolone, testosterone acetate, and 17-alpha hydroxyprogesterone. So these are the pre-hormones, and then in the next slide you will see that they are being converted into androgens, which are consisting of 19 carbon atoms present. So the C19 steroids, which are also known as the androgens. So from the previous slide we know that the first step we had 17-alpha hydroxypregnenolone. So here you can see that when as a result the 17-alpha hydroxypregnenolone is being converted into dehydroepiandrosterone. Now the second one in the previous slide was testosterone acetate, and now the testosterone acetate is being converted into testosterone, and the last one was 17-alpha hydroxyprogesterone, which is being converted into now androstenedione. So now if you count the number here, so these are actually the androgens, the active C19 steroids hormones, which are also known as the sex hormones, and they are composed of 19 carbon atoms. Now looking closely at the dehydroepiandrosterone, so it is also possible that dehydroepiandrosterone, it can be converted into androstenedione. And looking at the structures of dehydroepiandrosterone and the testosterone, so the difference between the structures is that at carbon number 3 you have hydroxyl group in dehydroepiandrosterone, while in case of testosterone at carbon number 3 you have a double bond oxygen atom present. Now in dehydroepiandrosterone you have double bond at carbon number 5 and 6, while in case of testosterone you have a double bond at carbon number 4 and 5. Furthermore, you have double bond oxygen in dehydroepiandrosterone at carbon number 17, while here in case of testosterone you have a hydroxyl group at carbon number 17. Now if we compare the testosterone with the androstenedione, so again the double bond oxygen is present at carbon number 3 in both the hormones, and the position of the double bond is also the same in case of testosterone and the androstenedione. But the only difference we can see is that at 17 position we have a hydroxyl group in testosterone, while in case of androstenedione we have a double bond oxygen atom present at carbon number 17. So now moving towards the C18 steroids, which are also known as the estrogens. Now here you can see that first of all we have 19-oxo-testosterone, which is being converted into 19-carboxy-testosterone. So this is known as 19-carboxy-testosterone because at 19 number carbon, this is the carboxy group. Then this 19-carboxy-testosterone is being converted into 19-nor-testosterone, and then this 19-nor-testosterone is being converted into 17-beta estradiol. Now, as we say that these are the C18 steroids, also known as the estrogens, so it means that they contain 18 carbon atoms. So if you count the number of carbon atoms in 17-beta estradiol, you will see that there are 18 carbon atoms present in its structure. Now the 17-beta estradiol can either be converted into estriol, which has also 18 carbon atoms, and there is an interconversion of 17-beta estradiol into estrone, and the estrone also contains 18 carbon atoms. So it means that starting from the 19-oxo-testosterone, which contains 19 carbon atoms, while the 19-carboxy-testosterone also contains 19 carbon atoms, and then further 19-nor-testosterone also contains 19 carbon atoms. But when the 19-nor-testosterone is being converted into 17-beta estradiol, so then all of the 17-beta estradiol, estrone and estriol, they all contain only 18 carbon atoms. So it means that there is a removal of one carbon atom during the enzymatic reaction, and these estriol, estrone and 17-beta estradiol are known as estrogens, and these are also the sex hormones which perform different activities related to sex behavior and sex characters. Now if we look at the structure of 17-beta estradiol and relate it with the estrone, so we can see that the rest of the structure is same, but at carbon number 17 we have a double bond oxygen present in case of estrone, while in case of estradiol we have a hydroxyl group present at carbon number 17, and then this is the carbon number 18, which is the methyl group. Now if we compare the estrone with the estriol, so you can see that the rest of the structure is the same, but the only difference is at carbon number 17 and carbon number 16. So in case of estriol, we have a hydroxyl group at carbon number 17, while in case of estrone we have a double bond oxygen present at carbon number 17, and at carbon number 16 we have an additional hydroxyl group present, while in case of estrone we don't have any functional group present at carbon number 16. So now moving towards the function of estrogens, which are C18 steroids. So one of them is aromatization, which is the conversion of androgen to estrogen with the help of an enzyme which is known as aromatase. And Why this is happening is due to the excess synthesis of androgens. So when there is a huge quantity or increased concentration of androgens present inside the body, so then the process of aromatization takes place and the androgens are being converted into estrogens in the presence of enzyme aromatase. Now these estrogens, these are important for formation of corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum is a yellow endocrine tissue that forms in a ruptured Graafian follicle following the release of an ovum. And this corpus luteum, it degenerates after a few days when the pregnancy has begun. So the estrogens, these are important for the formation of corpus luteum and the pregnancy beginning. They are also important for the secondary sex characters which appear during adulthood, and they are also important for sexual behavior and maternal aggression, which is also sometimes referred as morning sickness. And they have a role in calcium and water metabolism as well. So from this point of view, you can see that the estrogens, they perform very important functions inside the human body. So these are the references: the linear biochemistry, the comprehensive biochemistry by Longman, and general biochemistry by Mosby. And at 4 number you have the textbook of medical physiology by Guyton and Hall, which I will recommend for further study and reading and explanation and understanding. And then you have the biological chemistry by Harper and Rowe. Thank you.